Today is going to be a frustrating story, and we're just going to get straight into it. Welcome back to Slow Roll. My name is Stephanie. Videos every Wednesday on disability issues, the day-to-day, and reviews. Today we are going to be having a chat about something that happened today that has just caused some significant frustration in my life, stress, anxiety, and I felt like there was a need to talk about it on this platform. I need to advocate for myself. I need to be real with you guys. And it's just time that we talk about this. This is not the first time something like this has happened, but it's the first time since we've had this channel. And so as you guys well know, I have been waiting for my EEG for over 6 months now. And with that in mind, in August, I made you guys aware that I finally got my letter and that I was to have my test this week. I received a call this morning. In hindsight, I'm glad I picked it up because it came in at 9 a.m. and I'm usually not up at 9 a.m. And it was the lab letting me know that due to me not calling to confirm my appointment a minimum of 3 days prior to what was supposed to be my appointment tomorrow, my appointment was canceled and they had given it to somebody else. So my slot was filled and it was no longer mine. As soon as I saw the call, I felt this dread. I felt like something was wrong because I never get a call from a hospital the day before an appointment. That just doesn't happen. You might get an automated system call saying, hey, just to confirm, blah, 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 blah. And it just gives you all the details. It's usually a voice recording. That's normal. Been there, done that. But a call from a human the day before an appointment is not normal. And lo and behold, it was the lady letting me know that they were canceling my appointment. And I fell straight into tears and didn't know really what to do or say. And I asked her, I'm like, I know that I called. I've been waiting for this test for a long time. And she's like, there's nothing we can do at this point. It's done. And I said, okay. And she hung up. And so I instantly called Luke and I said to him what had happened. And he got pretty frustrated in the thick of it. And so was I. At this point, I'd gotten over the high level emotions and we moved to frustration level major. And he's like, call them back and go Karen on them, which, you know, I can do and I've done. I try not to do that with hospital staff because I understand the stress they're living under. I understand that they're short-staffed. I understand that they've been underfunded for years. I understand that the government hasn't been a support system to them. And so that trickles down to patient care and patients and appointments and all that fun jazz. And so I try and be as passionate, as compassionate as I possibly can when speaking to hospital staff, because I know that life is not easy being a hospital staff. And I truly, truly commend them for still being in this crazy medical system we currently live in, especially right now as the system is under a significant amount of stress. But I felt the need to share this story because we're talking routine care now. We're talking routine EEG. We're not talking emergent care, which a lot of people talk about, the news talks about all the time. Emergency wait times and staff shortages and all that stuff. They talk about that all the time. But it's more than that. It's MRI delays, it's EEG delays. And for someone like me who's been waiting for an EEG unknowingly for years, but knowingly for over 6 months, this is going to have a monstrous impact on my health. I've deteriorated significantly over the last couple of months from a seizure perspective, and we have no answers because I haven't had my EEG. And we are going to have to wait even longer now. We'll get into the future of what this is going to look like. But the reality is now I'm going to have to wait even longer. Everything had been scheduled and had been put in control of this date. As soon as we found out my EEG date, we scheduled my neurologist follow-up, my doctor follow-up, and all of my specialists according to this October date. And due to the cancellation of this test, I am now going to need to reschedule my entire next 2 months, which is going to be a royal pain in the butt. But not only that, will most likely incur that my health is going to continue to decline. We have seen a fairly significant uptake in seizures with me over the last couple months. August was awful. September was okay. October has been a crazy month, and we've been seeing a lot of seizures. You guys saw the episode last week of the video, me talking about having 3 seizures in one day. That is happening more frequently, and it's becoming more and more dangerous from a seizure perspective, from a cognitive function perspective. We are kind of at that tipping point of me turning into an emergency patient now, because I will not be able to get the care that I'm going to need until I get this EEG. So after I calmed down a little bit and after I spoke to Luke, I called the number that was on my document, the letter that I had originally got in August. And I had obviously needed to leave a message, because that's how you don't get to speak to a human when you call a hospital. Essentially what ended up happening was I just couldn't leave it at that. I just couldn't leave a message saying, hey, this is what's going on. What can we do about it? I needed to do more. I felt like I needed to advocate for myself. This was a ridiculous situation. Before I did anything else, I needed to make sure that I could actually prove that I'd called the hospital in August when I received my letter to confirm my appointment. So I went into my phone, I went into my logs, and lo and behold, the phone number that was on the piece of paper is sure enough a call that I had made in August. And so I had proof that I had called and left a message. Luke was actually in the car when this happened, so he was like 99% sure I'd done it too, because he was there. And so I call the general hospital line and I get an operator. And I will commend that operator did absolutely everything she could for me. I really appreciate the time that she spent with me. She understood the situation and the urgent nature of what was going on. And she said, you might be on hold for a while, but let me find you the right person to talk to. And what I had done was ask her to speak to the boss of the EEG department. That gentleman was my next step at this point. I'd left a message with the general lab, and they said that they call people back within 1 to 4 days. So what, I was just going to sit and wait for 3 days? No, that's just not how I roll. So I finally ended up being able to have her look into this. She said that she couldn't really find the supervisor for this department and she was going to need more time. And I said, that's fine. And she put me on hold again. After this, I end up getting another call from St. B. And I'm like, this is odd. I'm thinking it's maybe her reaching out to somebody else and that person calling me back. So I put her on hold at this point and answered the other call that was coming into my phone. Lo and behold, the lab that told me they weren't going to call me for 1 to 4 business days actually calls me back. At that time, I speak to the main lab technician, or the person that answered the phone. She was in the lab. I don't really know who she was, but the long and the short of it was she apologized, which was a nice change of pace, and said that the best she could do was put me at the top of the pile. The lady I'd spoken to originally had said that I would go to the bottom of the pile, and there was about 30-some people in front of me that were waiting for rebooks. And so I'd be looking into Christmas at the earliest to get rescheduled. And so this lady said, no, it was on us. It's our mistake. The clerk should have put you as confirmed when you called in August, and that's on that person, and we apologize. We're going to put you at the top of the list. And to be honest with you, we're short-staffed right now. One of our staff has COVID, which, hey, it happens. I understand. And we just don't know when that tech's going to be back. And when that tech is back, we're going to start booking that tech back into the schedule. and you'll, in theory, be one of the first to get an appointment with that tech that comes back. And I said, okay, so when do we roughly know? Do we have a rough idea of when this is all going to go down? And she says, no. However, she does proceed to tell me to make sure that I keep my phone on ringer and make sure that whatever I do to answer my phone if St. calls me, because they don't leave messages. They don't leave any information. They will just call. If you answer, they will book you in. If you don't answer, they go to the next person on the list, which is like one of the most arbitrary systems I've ever heard in my entire life. But at the same time, I understand that they only have so much time to get this done and they got to fill spots as fast as possible. But my thought on this is that last time I checked, the healthcare system is not a radio call-in show. So if I don't pick up the phone and answer this call, I go to the bottom of the pile. As if I don't call Ace Burpee within 5 minutes, I don't win my prize. It just doesn't make any sense. My level of frustration's like boiling at this point. I just didn't know what to say to her at this point. I understood what was going on. I understood there was a mistake made. People make mistakes. I get that. But okay, we're not talking life and death, but we're talking a significant impact on a human's life. And that's incredibly frustrating. I didn't know what else to do or say. And she said, we'll give you a call as soon as we have a slot. And I said, okay. So now, I've gone from hopefully getting my EEG at Christmas to hopefully getting my EEG in the next week or 2 or 3, probably. Let's be realistic. So then I get a call back from the original operator who I was on the phone with, who calls me back and says, hey, I finally found the boss for this department. Do you want to speak to him? I said, yes, I would like to speak to him. I didn't expect him to be able to do anything else than the technician I spoke to on the phone the second time around, but I wanted him to be aware of the situation. And he told me that he would go to the lab and just double check on all this information, make sure that everything was being done properly, and that he would follow up. That was at the beginning of the day. All of this happened between like 8:30 and 10 this morning. It is now into the evening. I, of course, have not gotten a call back from the manager. And I just hope that I'm still at the top of the list, at the top of the pile, and that me pushing and speaking to the manager didn't put me at the bottom of the pile. I can promise you that I will be calling the lab this week again to make sure that I'm still at the top of the pile and to make sure that I get an update with regards to where we at as far as rescheduling. And I will continue to call until I get my appointment booked and until I get my appointment, hopefully before Christmas. But it still delays my care. It delays the future of my health. It delays it all. And I'm honestly, guys, I'm trying to keep this together. This is really hard. Our medical system has been through a lot, with COVID and everything that's going on. And, COVID's not done. We're seeing another spike. The hospitals are seeing another spike of patients. Everything's a mess. But at the same time, I'm waiting here in limbo. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm trying not to blame myself, and I'm trying to be strong in this situation, and I'm trying to affirm to myself that I did everything I possibly could to make sure that this was going to happen and that this wasn't my fault. But it's hard. It's hard not to blame yourself that you didn't do enough. Like, what if I'd called last week? What if I had this? Or what if I had that? And I want you to know that if you're in a situation like mine where an appointment gets canceled or something happens, it's not your fault. It's just, this is unfortunately the system we live in. And I'm not bashing the entire medical system. I know the people who work in hospitals work really hard. And, like I said earlier, I'm very compassionate to what they live day to day. I don't know what their struggles truly are. I just see it from a patient's perspective. But to the government officials and to anyone who ends up watching this who may or may not be able to do something about this in a general term, as far as policy, as far as funding, you are affecting patient care. That's the bottom line. And as far as I'm concerned, that's the one thing that shouldn't be allowed to happen. You're putting the lives of people at risk. And I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what the next couple months are going to look like now. I really don't, because this EEG was a stepping stone to the future of my health. I can't go on seizure meds now. I have to wait for this test. I just hope that in the coming weeks, I don't have a seizure that puts me in the hospital. One, because the chances of me catching COVID while I'm there are very high, and as an autoimmune compromised human, that would be really bad. But not only that, having a seizure that would put me in the hospital could impact my long-term cognitive function and so many other things to keep in mind. So, with all of that said, I will leave you guys with this, that now I have to wait for someone to miss their phone call so that I can be rescheduled to get my appointment, which I think is absolutely preposterous. And on that note, I will say goodbye for now. We will see you next week, Wednesday, with hopefully something a little bit more uplifting and fun. But I hope you guys have a wonderful week. And don't forget to breathe and slow your roll. Now, go watch something way more fun and way more positive. Go watch my travel buggy review, which has changed my life for the better.